evening, everybody. I'm Jesse Weber, and welcome to Prime Crime Tonight. This is where we do a deeper dive into the most high-profile and memorable true crime cases. Tonight, a killer unlike any other. June 7th, 2016, Hobart, Wisconsin. This Midwest village may not be a place that usually comes to mind, but on that spring day, Hobart was to be the scene of a gruesome double murder that caught headlines.
This is a real-life horror movie description.
Joel Kennedy had been living with his girlfriend Sabrina Teague and her mother Heesun, Sonny Teague. One day, he and Sabrina walk into the home, hear the shower running, and find stains on the bathroom floor. Suddenly, a knife-wielding assailant jumps out of the laundry room and attacks them.
He walked up and went to stab me, and then I put my arm up, and the blade went through my arm and into my chest.
While Kennedy was able to hit the attacker in the face with a shovel and escape to call 911, Sabrina and Sonny didn't make it out alive, both stabbed to death in cold blood. But this wasn't a case of a stranger lurking in the dark, but rather someone the victims knew.
Okay, you know who he is?
Jacob Cayer was Sabrina's ex-boyfriend. After police arrest Cayer, they want to understand what happened, but Cayer seems confused.
What does Mr. Cayer first start to talk to you about that happened that evening of June 7th, 2016?
He said, "Did I take a car and smash it into somebody?"
While he claims he was angry at Sabrina,
he's alleging that she blackmailed his family and was making up a rape allegation against him in a tent.
Makes a strange comment about Sonny.
Says that Sonny's a real nice lady, and then what did Mr. Cayer say next?
He said it's unfortunate how things turned out.
And even explains portions of the incident.
He said he attacked her.
The story doesn't make sense. During Cayer's incredible trial, the prosecution put forward a strong case that he intentionally killed two people and attempted to kill a third, especially by calling the surviving victim, Joel Kennedy, to the stand.
He walked out of the laundry room and proceeded to attack us.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
Cayer.
It was a trial that even saw the defendant himself testify and provide unforgettable moments about what he says happened that day.
And then after that, there's, I'm struggling with somebody, and this is in the kitchen of the Teague residence. It's not Teague, it's not Joel.
But in a move that trial watchers are still debating and scratching their heads over, the jury ultimately found that Cayer committed these crimes, but he was not legally responsible. They agreed with the defense's argument that Cayer had a mental disease or defect and couldn't appreciate the wrongfulness of his actions.
What were your conclusions?
That, first of all, he has either schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder as his primary diagnoses.
Instead of going to prison, Cayer was remanded to a mental health institution. And here's the kicker. Under Wisconsin law, he could one day be released back into the world. Did the jury make the right call? And what was really going on in Jacob Cayer's mind? Let's start at the beginning with the 911 phone call. And this is not from a concerned citizen who's just peering into the house. But what you are about to hear is the surviving victim of the attack, Joel Kennedy.
Shit, he's trying to break into the house now. Okay, sir, you said 1, 3, 6, 8. Okay, and someone's trying to break into your house? They're only looking. I'm standing down, bleeding out. Okay, do you have a weapon? Yes. What does he have? A knife. But he's running outside the door. Okay, do you know who he is? Yes.
Not only a surviving victim, but he is identifying the attacker in real time. Now listen to Kennedy explain what happened to Sabrina and Sonny.
Where's the meal? I don't know. Okay. Where did he stab you? In the arm, and I'm bleeding out really bad. Okay, is anyone else in your family injured? Yes, my girlfriend and her mom are injured What happened to them? They got stabbed, I believe. Okay.
All right, let me bring in New York Law School professor Kirk Burkhalter. Professor, Kennedy would testify in this trial, and to have a surviving victim like him, point the finger and say, I saw the killer, that is a prosecutor's dream. Yet the defense pointed to a number of inconsistencies in his statements. They even suggested that he could be somehow responsible. What do you think about his role here?
It's very interesting. So I think that the inconsistencies, there were some minor inconsistencies in his testimony. However, the fact that he made the 911 call, you have that smoking gun tape. So that is huge. And that he is a surviving victim. He was injured. Not to mention that it is not unreasonable for someone who is at the scene of a traumatic event and, as a matter of fact, involved as a victim to have an inability to recall it 100% accurately. Our memories are not videotapes where you just simply press play. But certainly he was a very powerful witness in this case.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing to think about the fact that you have someone who survived this. How often can we say that? Now, police didn't have to go far to apprehend Cayer. He was in the woods behind the house, actually discovered by the officer's dog.
Wait, come here! Hands! 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 No, hold tight. Where's the knife? Inside. Ow! Get there. Man. Hands up. I see hands. We got one hand. I give up. Hands up. Do not move. We're not getting off. Do not move. Put the gun away. Put the taser away. I got one hand away. I'm gonna handcuff on the sand. Handcuff on the sand. Handcuff on the sand. Handcuff on the sand. Stop resisting! Got handcuff on the sand. All right. Stop resisting.
Well, after that takedown, Cayer is transported to the hospital. Now, this part is important. Sergeant Zachary Holzbach from the sheriff's office says that Cayer competently and voluntarily waived his Miranda rights, and he decided to talk to him. Now, how bad is what Cayer said to police? Well, you should think about it like this. His defense team tried desperately to keep these statements out of court.
But she also said this to public too. That she's talking that they were like against both of them, and Walter too, which is walking around. You know what? You would start with the migraine. The fact that you're blacking out.
Sunny? What's her, do you know her real name or any other names for her, or you just call her Sunny?
Heesun.
Heesun?
Yeah, she's really good.
Nice lady?
Yeah, she's really nice.
Yeah, those aren't great comments of somebody who's suspected of murdering these two people. Cayer would describe that he was sick of women treating him badly and how Sabrina was accusing him of rape, which all goes towards motive. He then described what he did.
She would need doctors right away, right?
Probably.
Why would she need the doctors right away?
Well, the area that you overstand, like I said,
It's a bad area, huh?
it's either close to the neck or the torso there. And hopefully it just went by the collarbone.
Cayer went so far as to draw a map for Sergeant Holzbach of how the attack unfolded. Not only that, but Cayer would reenact the stabbing as well.
Okay, so like neck area, upper shoulder?
All I see in my memory is this much.
Okay, so you're pushing forward with the knife. Okay. Okay, so it's somewhere in that upper left chest area or upper shoulder area or close to the neck. Okay.
I sat down with Jacob Cayer's attorneys and I asked them, why did Cayer say what he said to police?
It's a little bit hard to get into Jacob's mind, of course, because of the obvious mental health issues that he deals with. But I think that Jacob was probably in the throes of whatever psychotic condition led to this event. And that's why I thought you saw a lot of the statements that you saw at the hospital.
Professor, over to you. We're trying to understand if Cayer confessed and now his words came back to haunt him, or was he really not in his right mind? And maybe it was a mistake to interview him at that point. What do you think?
Well, it's really interesting because someone can be in the throes of some type of psychotic break. They certainly could be not in their right state of mind and still give a confession voluntarily and knowingly, which is the standard. And he appeared fairly lucid here. He knew what he was saying. He wasn't being forced to say so. He wasn't being coerced. He made that full statement to the nurse also. So I understand what his defense is saying, but it seemed pretty clear here that this was a good confession.
And the idea that, he didn't run away. He was found behind the house. Does that let you think that maybe he didn't know what he was doing was wrong?
Interesting point. Quite possibly. What does one do when they commit a crime? Normally, one would elude capture, try to get as far away from the scene, try to do something, even if they don't have a plan. But he remained at the crime scene. And that does tend to lead one to believe that perhaps he did not know what he was doing, the quality of his actions, or that they were wrong. Certainly, that factor would have helped the defense.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to figure out what is going on in his mind and what was he thinking. And it's not an easy place to be. But I'll tell you what, when we come back, we're going to get into what Jacob Cayer said in front of the jury and what he said in front of the judge. We'll be back.
Ask you some questions. I think you even wanted to see, I think you were asking on direct, you wanted to be able to see the backpacks, but maybe I couldn't remember everything's in it.
Sure, if you're going to do that, let me name off every item.
Well, let's look at some.
No, let's name everything. Or at least let them have everything.
All right. Well, we'll show it, and then I get to ask the question. Okay.
Sorry, man, I just don't like it. So.
I know.
When Jacob Cayer goes to trial for the murders of his ex-girlfriend Sabrina Teague and her mother Sonny, he decides to take the stand. Now, he says on the day of the killings, he got into a disagreement with his family, he left the house, but he was also concerned that he was in danger for seemingly getting into a beef with this guy named Dylan. So he wants to make sure he doesn't leave empty-handed.
When you left your parents' house, did you take anything with you?
Yeah, I chose one of my backpacks. I have anything that you like camping to, like you needed any type of scenario. This is your backpack. The other one's clothes. The other one was food, and then there's also some as you all saw, certain weaponry for self-protection because, like I said, I am being attacked by individuals with guns and knives because I called Dylan. I hacked his stuff, actually. I put it out there, hey, this is you putting people on heroin, and that caused that. So I had that for protection.
So that was some of the stuff you had in your bag, like items for protection?
Yeah, some of the things that look concerning to all you.
Those concerning things, those things to protect himself, zip ties, duct tape, rope, gloves, knives, all of that was found in his backpack when he was apprehended by police behind Sabrina's home. Speaking of which, how did he end up there?
So how did you get to Sabrina Teague's?
I couldn't tell you. Other than once I viewed through my discovery, that you find that the people that were Dylan's friends who have been trying to assault me, attack me for a long time, did bring me there. You can see stuff like that, and I was like, oh, okay.
Let's go to what happened next. Something happened at Sabrina's. What happened at Sabrina's?
Are you asking from the memory portion, or?
I'm asking for you to testify what's about.
I know absolutely jack crap. If you're asking from that point on, I have no memory. As far as later, I had memory, and then more memory after I went to the jail.
No memory of what happened? Surely he has to remember something. After all, he told police about an attack and him fighting.
I'm knocked off my bike. I don't have any more recollection of that up until there's a part where I'm in a vehicle laying down and there's someone just by my legs, not really even holding me down, just whatever. And there's either rain or a snare drum type of sound. I got nothing for you out other than that. And then after that, there's I'm struggling with somebody, and this is in the kitchen of the Teague residence. It's not Teague. It's not Joel. I have a small visual of what I'm being told in my description was Adam. I don't remember the last name right now, so I wrote it down. Holding me down.
Cayer would say that when he woke up in the hospital, he didn't remember anything and he was very confused. Well, we actually have video of him in the hospital. Watch.
What the fuck? What the fuck? Oh my God, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
You fucking tell me.
I don't know, you tell us.
I don't fucking know.
Hey, what's your name? What's your name? So we can help you.
I plead the fifth, get out of here.
We just want to know what your name is so we can help you.
He would even say to nurses, "Did I do something stupid?" Professor, there seems to be some evidence that he might have gaps in his memory. But at the same time, what he does remember is fighting with someone, and he even suggests when he takes the stand that he may have been framed for the murders. What are your thoughts on this alternate theory?
Well, certainly there appears to be gaps in his memory, no two ways about it. However, he was going back to our original point. He was able to draw a detailed map describing how he committed this crime, and he was able to describe to the police in great detail how he committed the crime. Framed for the murder, I find that very hard to believe. He had the instrumentalities of that tended to show he intended to commit a crime, and he was apprehended near the scene. Now, rather than being framed, the issue is whether he is criminally responsible, because all the evidence tends to point that the fact that he was the person. Not to forget that the victim, one of the victims, pointed him out and identified him.
Yeah, and that's a big point. Now, I'll tell you what, you know who wasn't buying this story? The prosecution. And when they pushed him on how convenient it was, he just didn't remember what happened, he pushed back.
Yeah.
You're trying really hard, by the way. It's kind of funny.
I'm trying hard?
You guys are trying really hard, yeah, especially when everyone sees all the statements you guys try to make and shit.
Okay.
Compared to what's real, yeah.
Well, let's just get through this. Okay. I'll try hard, you try hard, and we'll get done with it.
You guys have pissed me off royally, so.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry
you
about
specifically.
that. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm going to just ask you a couple more questions. So when Sergeant Yankee said, "So you're pushing forward with the knife," and you say yes.
No, I know. I ignore her. I ignore what she says. You want to play it again? She's like, "Oh, so you feel it going?" And I'm like, I completely ignore that. So I see, I keep doing the motion of what I'm seeing.
What did you just say?
I'm sorry. I'm so fucking pissed on. It's fucking me up right now. Play it again if you want. If you don't believe me.
It's fine.
Yeah, because you know what I'm talking about. It's true.
Look, I got to tell you, Cayer testifying was something many of us have never seen before. And when I spoke with his attorneys, they said, look, it was his chance to tell his story, that he always planned to testify. But at the end of the day, how do they think he did?
I think he did well. I think that he could have handled it much differently, both ways. He could have been a little bit more calm. He could have been a little bit more collected. But at the same time, he could have been a lot more aggressive. He could have said a lot more things in ways that were a lot less pleasant, rather.
The jury ended up convicting Cayer of murdering Sabrina and Sonny, but when the trial moved into phase 2 to determine if he was not guilty due to a mental disorder, Cayer didn't want to come to court. In fact, he had a nice message. Watch.
I don't want to be present. I do not like you people, and I'm going to give everything to the news later, so fuck y'all.
Okay, well, he just, in addition to his kind words, he just flipped us off as well.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, the jury found Cayer not criminally responsible for the killings because of his psychotic condition, and he was sent to a mental health facility. But he can legally petition for early release and be back in the world. What does attorneys have to say about this?
Realistically, there isn't a judge on the planet who would entertain, in my opinion, any release anytime soon for somebody who has the profound level of mental illness that really exists here. Yes, he can petition. We don't have a current plan to do so. And frankly, that's a decision that would be made by the treating physicians at the mental hospital. Those individuals can give us a good sense of Jacob's progress, his receptiveness to treatment, how he responds to that. And once he's completed a substantial portion of that process, however many years or decades that might be, then at that point, we would cross that bridge.
Okay, Professor, I want to get your perspective on this. Could Cayer be released? If not tomorrow, if not the next day, a few years from now? Is this a realistic possibility?
No, I don't think so. Theoretically, he could be released, but I don't see him being released. And why is that? So in order for him to be released, he would have to not pose a threat to society at that particular time. So in other words, if it's 5 years from now, a doctor or physician, psychiatrist would have to determine he doesn't pose a threat. But there are two things going against him. One, he does clearly suffer from some type of severe emotional distress or mental illness. And two, he has clearly demonstrated the ability, the wherewithal, and the intention to commit a double homicide. You cannot unring that bell. And I don't think any physician wants to be responsible.
At the end of the
day,
we're dealing with a situation where a man commits double murder and may one day get out. The only thing I know is that this is a case we're going to be talking about for a while. Well, that's all we have for you on Prime Crime Tonight. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, be safe out there.